guys, autofanatic. I'm going to do a little review here on a 2016 Mustang California Special. This is a fully modified car. One of my clients, I just finished a detail, and being that I got the car for another day, I'm just going to shoot a little video. This is just the exterior. I'm going to show you here. This car is lowered on the Ford Performance full suspension system. That's sway bars, shocks, and lowering springs. He's got 20-inch staggered wheels with Nitto tires. This is the California Special package, which gives you the lower decals on the bottom. It gives you the blacked out mirrors, the blacked out roof. It's got a blacked out trunk spoiler and the blacked out front hood vents. It also gives you a lower spoiler, and you get the interior, which is leather, heated cool seats, red stitching, and the microfiber down the middle of the seat. So I'm going to just give you a little walk around and show you some of the details on the car. So as you can see, those are the contrasting hood vents in black. And you also have some accent stripes on the creases of the hood. And it looks really, really cool. You get a California Special specific front grille. So they get rid of that waffled egg crate grill, and you get a nice smooth slat grill top and bottom. And you also get a much larger lower front spoiler, which actually looks really, really cool. So the California Special option package, believe it or not, originated back in 1967. They only made the California Special as a trim package option just a very short period of time. And then they brought it back in 2016, and then they killed it, and I think they brought it back for 2018. I'm not even sure. You have to go online and check. But this is a really cool trim package, and with some aftermarket mods, this car becomes a hell of a lot of fun. So just go around the car here. And that's the trunk spoiler. It's not the same spoiler that comes on the Shelby. It has the lower diffuser painted white, nothing special there. This car also has blacked out rear lenses in the bumper, like you can see here. Tinted windows. It has a roof spoiler, which I actually had to reapply today. It's got the Roush color matched side scoops, which I think look great. And let's just pull the camera back. I mean, this is a good looking car. It's really sharp. I think it looks the best in white, and you don't see a lot of these cars. So my customer bought this car in Florida, and then he brought it to a shop down there, and then they did all the modifications to it, and he shipped it up to New York, and he drives this thing almost every day. And this is a pretty cool car. So let's go into the interior. Okay, so now we're over on the interior. You could see the red deviated stitching with the microfiber on the doors. You also have it on the seats, and these seats are leather. They're heated and cooled. You have a GT CS embossment in the seat right there. This particular car has got a GT350R steering wheel with the red stripe and red deviated stitching, and it has the Shaker Pro. It has a unique aluminum crisscross pattern on the dash. This is unique to California Specials only. You get the unique California Special dash plaque right there. And other than that, everything else in the car is pretty much a carryover. You get the Shaker Pro audio system. This particular car has got a bunch of modifications that I will discuss during the drive portion of the video. So let's strap the camera inside, and we're going to go for a ride. I'll tell you a little bit about this car and what my thoughts are from owning a 2015 modified GT Performance Pack and now owning a GT350 and driving it every day in a year all over the New York City metro area. So this is a viable option. We're going to strap the camera inside. We're going to go for a ride. Alright guys, we're at the drive portion of the modified 2016 California Special. And I gotta say, man, I've been driving this car for a while now, and I haven't driven this version, the standard version of a Mustang with some mods, in well over a year. And to be honest with you, this car, the way it's set up with the power adjustable seats, they're heated and cooled. It's got plenty of torque from the Coyote motor. And this car has a tune and intake, full exhaust, and you guys can probably hear it. The one thing I do miss in my car, of course, is the button. So I can just tone it down to talk to you guys and you know, take calls. It just makes it a lot better. So when you're doing modifications on a GT Mustang, you better hope you love your exhaust, or you know, do the expensive Roush active exhaust, and where you'll have a button on the center console where you can open and close the valves. That's a pretty cool system. But the car is fun, it's comfortable, and this particular car has 10,000 New York City miles. This car is not driven north, it's driven in the Bronx, Queens, Manhattan, and parts of Westchester County. So this thing is getting pounded day in and day out when he takes it out, and it's still tight as a drum. There's no squeaks, there's no rattles. That's just because the chassis of the S550 is so damn good, and it's so well made. And the suspension that's on this car is the Ford Performance Complete Suspension Package, which is the sport shock absorbers, which are very similar to what you get on the Performance Pack car. It has the lowering springs, which I believe are made by Eibach, and it has a set of thicker sway bars. This car also has cradle lockout kit. It has some front Camber braces, 20-inch wheels and tires, slotted and drilled brake rotors with different pads by Hawk. I think the rotors are coming from a company called Stillen. And then it has a tune, it has a JLT intake. And overall, it's a hell of a fun car, just as is. Like, my car, driving on the same roads, really beats me up. I mean, literally, at the end of the day, I'm exhausted getting in and out of that car. It's just a much firmer ride. It's very punishing. But something like this, the seats are so comfortable, the ride is so compliant, and yes, it's not as sharp as a modified GT Performance Pack car, and it's not as sharp as a GT350, but 90% of the guys out there may not want that. So out of the box, out of the dealership, I don't really like the way the Mustang drives stock. Okay, I just think that they're all over the road. The steering is not very precise. Too much body roll. It feels too cushiony and too much like a luxury car. That's not really what you want in a muscle car or a sport-inspired car. But, you know, spending a couple of $1,000s, maybe $3,000, you buy the car off the lot, you personalize it, you make it the way you want. You're going to be cheaper than getting a Performance Pack car. You're going to be a hell of a lot cheaper than getting a GT350. And, you know, you're going to get pretty much most of the excitement and most of the fun. I mean, you already have the good looks. You have the nice interior. This car has the Shaker Pro audio. It has the backup sensors in the back, which my car doesn't have. The heated and cooled power seats with lumbar. I mean, you know, so you do have a little bit of luxury dialed in, where you're not really getting any of that in a GT350. Now, in the Performance Pack car, there are a lot of components on the chassis that are different in terms of the bushings and bearings and everything in the front suspension and the rear IRS. And when you modify a Performance Pack car, it becomes much more brutal driving it every day, especially on the roads that I'm driving it on. I mean, I lived with one for almost 3 years, and it really beats the crap out of you, especially with the Recaro seats. But something like this, you know, if you guys are looking at the Camaros, you're looking at the Dodge, you're looking at the Mustang, I mean, to be honest with you, the Dodge is not going to handle as good as this chassis. The Camaro is an outstanding handling car. You could get the magnetic ride control. And now even with the 2018, you can get magnetic ride control on these as well. So, you know, the car is just getting better and better as the model years are going, and they're doing more revisions. And you can tell we're in the boogie down Bronx. It's nothing but traffic and chaos. But like I said, this is where this car is being driven every day. So that's why I wanted to kind of take it in this area and kind of show you guys. And you can see it in the camera. I mean, the roads are blown out. The car is pretty compliant. Now, with this particular car, you know, when you lower the S550 Mustang a lot, I mean, this car's lowered a good amount because the suspension's definitely settled. The rear IRS can get a little choppy, and that's just by nature. And when there's too much negative rear camber in the car, it could launch a little funny on this car, so you really have to spend time to dial out some of that negative camber. I mean, you don't really want to run like 2.5 degrees negative camber on this car on the street. So we just did the alignment on this car, and I believe we got it about 1.6 on both sides, which was a real pain to max it all out. But the power is there. I mean, this car's got the power. And this particular model does not have the 373 Torsen Living and Zip differential in the back. This has the standard differential. So it's a little bit more forgiving between fuel economy and, of course, driving it every day. And the MT82 transmission, I never liked it in my car. I still don't like it. I don't like the clutch feel on this particular car. I guess I'm spoiled with the clutch pedal and the dual disc clutch on my GT350, but you get used to it. On my GT Performance Pack car, I flushed out the transmission fluid at 5,000 miles, and I put the royal purple, and it made things a hell of a lot better. I did an MJW shifter, and I also took out my clutch spring. And like I said, that's how I lived with my car for almost 3 years. I had 32,000 miles before I sold it. But the car cruises. It really is. I mean, if the drone doesn't bother you, then, you know, that's fine. You just have to keep it in a different gear. But I like to keep it in the power band. I like to hear the exhaust. To me, that's the whole purpose of owning a car like this. And the steering wheel is familiar to me because it's a GT350R wheel. And he put this on there for aesthetics because it matches the microfiber on the seat and the red stitching. So I think it looks good. And it's definitely something that if you guys have this trim package with the leather and microfiber with the red stitching, this is definitely worth $400 to get this thing on your car. It just makes the interior and the feel of driving so much better. The factory steering wheel, I absolutely can't stand on this car. I don't like the baseball type stitching. It's lumpy. I don't like the feel of the plastic type leather. It feels like vinyl. But the car feels good. Car rides good. Car feels good. Car looks good. So it checks off all the boxes, and this is going to basically satisfy 90% of you guys out there. So that's pretty much it. If you guys are looking, you know, for a standard GT, you don't want to spend, you know, the money on the Shelby, which, like I said, it's a big spend. It's a big splurge for a lot of guys, and it really is. And it's an expensive car to upkeep. You know, look into getting a GT Performance Pack. Look into getting maybe a California Special or another limited trim package, and then, you know, spend a couple of bucks. Buy a suspension package from like BMR. Buy the Ford Performance suspension. You know, really whatever you want. And of all the suspensions that I've tested, the Ford Performance system on this car is most likely going to be the most compliant and most livable if you live in an area like New York where we have a lot of potholes and we have speed bumps in the middle of the highway. Like, here we go now. That's a speed bump at 70 miles an hour. So, you know, like I said, you have to think about that, because if you take that in the GT350 or you take it in a Performance Pack car and you have a much firmer suspension, you're going to feel it a hell of a lot more. And like I said, my back is totally comfortable. I'm not complaining at all regarding anything. So stay tuned for more car review videos. I know this chassis inside and out. Anybody's got questions, feel free to post it in the comments below. You guys can always email me direct, autofanatic@yahoo.com. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.